The desert bond. The Zephyrian sky blazed in copper and crimson. 2 suns scorched the horizon, casting jagged shadows across endless dunes. Commander Rylan Cade stumbled out of the smoking wreckage of his dropship, his boots sinking into the sand with every step. His HUD blinked red warnings: engine failure, lost navigation, depleted hydration packs. No comms. No backup. He cursed under his breath. Zephyr 9 wasn't supposed to be hostile. A simple trade resupply gone wrong. The wind shifted. Then he heard it. A soft, broken sound, half gasp, half whimper, carried by the dry air. Cautiously, he followed it, hand resting near the hilt of his plasma knife. Beyond a sandstone outcrop, the source came into view. A woman. Alien. Barely alive. She lay sprawled across the sand, her body twisted, half buried by dust. Black ceremonial armor was cracked, blood, deep violet, stained her side. Her eyes fluttered, trying to focus. Embedded in her abdomen were shards of metallic shrapnel pulsing with faint energy. Zephyrian noble caste. He recognized the markings. High-ranking. Untouchable. Still, she was dying. His training kicked in. He dropped to his knees beside her and pulled a medkit from his belt. No. No human touch, she whispered, voice hoarse and slurred. Forbidden. Rylan scanned her vitals. Fading fast. Internal bleeding. Cardiac irregularities. 2 minutes, maybe less. You want to die for tradition, he snapped. Too bad. He jabbed the injector into her side. Nanobots surged through her bloodstream, glowing briefly under her skin. Her body convulsed, then stilled. Her breathing evened. The color returned to her lips. He exhaled. Then she opened her eyes, wide, lucid, filled with horror. You did it, she murmured. You used your machines on me. You were dying. She sat up too quickly, groaning in pain. Her hands trembled as they touched the healed wound, now a faint silver mark. You don't understand, she said. By our law, you've just claimed me. He blinked. Claimed? She nodded, tears forming. You've saved my life through foreign means. Ancient rights dictate that I now belong to you. Rylan stared, stunned. I didn't save you to own you. It doesn't matter what you intended. Her voice trembled. Your action is binding. I must marry you or be executed as impure. The words hit him like a punch. He glanced around, half expecting someone to laugh, to tell him it was all a joke. Nothing. Only the wind and her broken breathing. I'm Rylan, he said at last, unsure of what else to offer. Commander. Federation Rescue Corps. She paused, as if weighing something. Lyra, she said. Daughter of High House Merent Hill. Royalty. Of course. He looked down at the injector in his hand. Saving her hadn't just upended her life, it had detonated a political minefield he hadn't even seen coming. You should go, she said quietly. Before they arrive. Too late, came a voice behind them. Rylan turned. A figure approached from the rocks, flanked by 4 armored guards. His robes shimmered, adorned with golden threads and sharp shoulder crests. His eyes were pale silver, cold, calculating. Vizareth Core, Lyra whispered. My intended. Unfortunate, Vizareth said coolly, eyes narrowing at Rylan. You've polluted her, human. She was dying. You should have let her die. Rylan stepped forward. I won't apologize for saving her. Vizareth raised a hand. The guards drew weapons, but didn't advance. Not yet. Take her back to the sanctum, Vizareth ordered. And bring him. He'll answer for what he's done. Lyra didn't protest. Her face was unreadable as the guards lifted her onto a lev skiff. Rylan climbed onto another, flanked by 2 sentinels. As the skiffs rose into the air and sped toward the glittering spires in the distance, Rylan looked back at the place where she had nearly died. The desert held no answers. Only consequences. Heart versus heritage. The Zephyrian capital shimmered like a mirage. Spires of crystal and metal twisted into the sky, casting fractured rainbows over sandstone courtyards. From above, it looked beautiful. From the inside, it felt like a cage. Rylan stood under armed watch on a marble platform, still wearing his scorched flight suit. 2 guards flanked him, spears humming with magnetic charge. Lyra sat across from him in a raised seat of silverstone. Her expression was masked, but her eyes wouldn't meet his. The chamber echoed with murmurs. Dozens of robed elders watched from semicircular tiers above. Vizareth paced in slow, deliberate steps before the council like a predator scenting blood. By his own admission, Vizareth said, voice calm but cutting, this outsider used alien technology to interfere with the body of a royal Zephyrian. That is desecration. That is life-saving, Rylan interrupted. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Vizareth turned, slow and theatrical. Spoken like a man who believes his crude tools make him a god. Rylan's jaw tightened. I saw someone dying. I saved her. You'd have stood by and watched her bleed into the sand. You call it mercy, Vizareth said. We call it violation. Rylan's gaze shifted to Lyra. She hadn't spoken a word. Her shoulders were stiff, her fingers clenched on the armrests of her throne. Her silence stung more than Vizareth's venom. One of the elders finally raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. We do not decide guilt today. Only consequence. The rite of binding was triggered. The words dropped like a hammer. Another elder added, the only lawful path now is fulfillment of the bond, or purging. Rylan turned sharply. Purging? Execution, Vizareth confirmed with a satisfied smile. To cleanse the impurity from her bloodline. This is madness, Rylan muttered. No, Lyra said, her voice sharp, finally looking at him. This is Zephyra. Their eyes locked. Rylan saw no hatred in her gaze, just pain. And something else. Regret. He swallowed hard. Then what happens now? The elders conferred briefly. Then one spoke. You will remain under watch in the outer sanctum. Neither execution nor union will proceed until the trial of union is concluded. And what's that? A chance, Lyra answered, softly this time. To prove the bond is true. That it's more than accident. If you pass, we proceed with union. And if I fail? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The outer sanctum was carved from luminescent stone. Rylan's chamber was luxurious, gold-veined walls, silken bedding, scented air, but it felt like a gilded cell. A guard stood outside at all hours. He wasn't a prisoner, but he wasn't free either. 3 days passed. He didn't see Lyra. Not until the 4th morning, when she stepped silently into his chamber, flanked by 2 female attendants. They dismissed themselves, leaving them alone. She stood in a flowing slate-blue robe, high-necked and severe, a gold sash around her waist. Her posture was stiff, her chin raised high. You're not supposed to be here, he said. I made a petition. He crossed his arms. To yell at me again? No, her voice softened. To speak freely. Without witnesses. Rylan leaned against the wall, arms folded. All right. Talk. She walked slowly to the center of the room, then turned to face him. You think I'm angry because you saved me. Didn't look thrilled. I was terrified, she said. You have no idea what it means for someone like me to lose control. To be touched by foreign medicine. Especially by a human. You'd prefer to be buried with honor than breathe with disgrace. No. But I was raised to believe I should. He let that sink in. Then he said, I didn't ask for this bond. I didn't even know it existed. She nodded. That's why I came. I needed to see if you hate me for it. Rylan looked at her carefully. I don't hate you, he said. But I hate that this place would punish you for living. Her eyes shimmered. You're brave, she said. Not brave. Just tired of watching good people die for bad rules. A silence stretched between them, fragile, strange, almost warm. Then she said, the trial begins tomorrow. I'll be called to witness. I won't lie. I wouldn't want you to. She turned to leave, but hesitated at the door. Do you regret saving me? She asked. He didn't hesitate. No. Not for a second. She smiled, barely, but it was real. Then she was gone. That night, Rylan stood alone on the balcony of his chamber, watching the stars swirl above the city. Zephyra's sky was unlike Earth's, too alive, too full of color and strange motion. Behind him, the door creaked open again. But it wasn't a guard. Vizareth entered without announcement, robes trailing like shadow. "You're bold," Ryland said, not turning. "I'm patient," Vizareth replied. "And I always make my intentions clear." Ryland turned then. "Let me guess. Threats? Warnings?" "A truth," Vizareth said. "She's not yours. Not truly. Even if you pass the trial, you'll never understand her world. You'll never be enough." Ryland stepped forward. "Maybe not. But I saved her life. I earned the right to try." Vizareth's expression darkened. "This world will never accept you. Then maybe it needs to change." Vizareth left without a word. The door shut behind him with a soft hiss. And Ryland knew, without doubt, the fight had truly begun. The trial of union. The ceremonial arena wasn't built for comfort. It was carved into the mountainside, shaped like a stone amphitheater, each seat chiseled with tribal symbols. Red banners rippled overhead in the morning wind. The crowd watched in cold silence, nobility wrapped in their shimmering cloaks, their eyes fixed on the pair standing at the center of the sacred ring. Ryland stood straight, armored in a ceremonial Zephyrian robe over his Federation gear. Lyra sat behind him on a raised seat, adorned in a silver veil, her face unreadable. She hadn't spoken to him since the night before. An elder stepped forward, voice echoing across the amphitheater. "By ancient right, the trial of union shall determine the validity of the bond. The human will complete 3 acts: honor, truth, and unity." Ryland nodded, jaw tight. The air was thinner up here. The tension heavier than stone. First trial, the honor of action. He was led to a training circle where 4 Zephyrian warriors waited, each from a different noble house. No weapons. No shields. Only tradition. One stepped forward, bowed stiffly, and threw the first strike. Ryland blocked, then pivoted, using the man's weight to throw him. The others didn't hesitate. The fight was relentless, each move tested not just skill, but control. Zephyrian duels didn't reward domination. They rewarded restraint. He fought with precision, never aiming to injure, only to disarm and dissuade. Bruised and breathless, he stood alone at the end, blood at the corner of his mouth, but standing. An elder spoke. He showed strength without cruelty. "The right of honor is past." No applause. Only silence. Ryland turned to look at Lyra. Her lips parted slightly. Something flickered in her eyes. Approval or maybe relief. Second trial, the sands of truth. A door opened into a chamber of swirling dust and pulsating crystal light. At its center, 2 pedestals. Lyra was already inside, standing at one. "This is the hardest," she said. "Even for us." He stepped forward without hesitation. They each placed a hand on the pedestal. The world disappeared. Inside the mindshare, there were no lies. Only memory. He was back in the wreckage of a burning outpost, years ago. Screams echoed. Bodies lay twisted. His partner, Diaz, bled out in his arms, whispering apologies. He couldn't save him. He watched it again, helpless. And then Lyra was there, not as an observer, but feeling it with him. Her breath hitched. Tears welled in her eyes. Then it shifted. They stood in a gilded hall on Zephyra, Lyra no more than 10 years old, wearing a heavy crown that bent her neck. Her mother's voice echoed, stern, sharp. "You are not here to feel. You are here to lead." A lonely girl in a palace built to keep her isolated. Rylan reached out, not out of duty, but instinct. She leaned into his hand, the memory dissolving like mist. They opened their eyes in the chamber. The dust settled. Neither spoke. But something unspoken had changed between them. The elders declared, "Truth has been witnessed. The second trial is complete." Third trial, the gift of unity. This one wasn't about combat. It wasn't about memory. It was about choice. Each trialed partner was to offer a gift of unity, something personal, something surrendered willingly for the sake of the bond. Lyra's gift had already been placed in the ceremonial box, a pendant made of living crystal, the last of her mother's legacy. Now it was Ryland's turn. He stepped forward and placed his Federation dog tags into the second compartment. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even Viseretha's composure cracked. Ryland spoke, clear and calm. "These represent my rank, my duty, my former life. I give them up freely. If this bond is real, if it means something, then I no longer serve just a flag. I serve what we build together." Lyra's breath caught. But before the box could close, a flash of red light seared the arena. A tremor shook the ground. Shouts erupted from the crowd. Visereth appeared at the center, flanked by armored enforcers. His voice was sharp, commanding. "This trial is a sham. The human has manipulated our customs. The gift was a ploy to gain power." The elders rose in protest. Visereth raised a small cube. "This contains classified records. The human's mission was not peace, it was reconnaissance. He came prepared for conflict. He knew what would happen." Ryland's face turned to stone. "That's a lie." Visereth continued. "Under ancient law, if any trial is proven to be tampered, the bond is invalid. And the punishment." "Stop." Lyra's voice cut like steel. She stood, removing her veil, her eyes blazing. "Enough of this." The arena quieted. I watched his memories. I saw his pain. I felt it. There was no manipulation. No deception. Just a man who saved someone he didn't understand because it was right. Visereth stepped toward her. "You would break your bloodline for him?" "I would rebuild it," she said. "With him." The silence that followed was not empty. It trembled with energy. Then the High Elder stood. "This bond has withstood trial, attack, and truth. It is no longer tradition that binds it. It is choice." Later that evening, Lyra found Rylan alone in the garden. The stars above Zephyra glowed like 1,000 watching eyes. "You fought for more than me today," she said. "I didn't fight for ceremony," he replied. "I fought for what I felt." "And what is that?" He stepped closer. "You." She reached out and took his hand, gently. Her voice lowered. "Then be ready. Because tomorrow, the world will watch as we say it aloud." The Starfire vow. The twin moons of Zephyra hung low, casting silver light across the palace balcony. In the distance, the dunes shimmered as if on fire, glowing with trapped starlight. The capital city buzzed behind the ceremonial halls, but up here, everything was still. Lyra stood before the balcony rail, silent in her ceremonial robes, black-lined with blue flame, colors of house renewal. A crown of living metal circled her brow, humming faintly with bioenergy. She looked both regal and human, strong and afraid. Rylan stood behind her, arms folded, watching her back. "The elders ratified it," she said quietly. "They approved the union under reformed law. No execution. No exile. Just freedom." He stepped beside her. "Sounds unreal." "It is," she whispered. "For 1,000 years, every match was forged by bloodline and law. But now, because of one man crashing in the wrong desert, everything's changed." He met her eyes. "Right dessert." She smiled. Soft. Genuine. The door behind them burst open. Visereth stormed through, his robes in disarray, face flushed with fury. Behind him, 2 palace guards hesitated at the threshold, unsure whether to follow. Lyra didn't flinch. "Visereth," she said flatly. He pointed at Rylan. "This farce ends now." "No," she said. "It already ended. And you lost. You think love will protect you from tradition," he spat. "You think you've won?" The elders bend. "Yes, but the people." Rylan stepped forward. "If you want a fight, say it clearly." Visereth sneered. "Challenge accepted." The room froze. Lyra's voice dropped. "You just invoked the right of last honor." "I did," Visereth snapped. "Let the people see what your human is really made of." Within the hour, the sky arena blazed with lantern light. Crowds gathered on balconies, rooftops, and surrounding dunes. The dual platform hovered over the city square, ringed with energy pylons humming at full charge. Rylan stood shirtless, armored only with kinetic gloves and pulse guards. Across from him, Vizareth wore full Zephyrian dual regalia, ceremonial blades strapped to his forearms. "You don't have to do this," Lyra had whispered earlier. "I do," he'd replied. "Not for me. For us." The arena pulsed to life. Vizareth struck first, fast, with practiced precision. Rylan dodged, sidestepped, then countered with a short jab that cracked Vizareth's jaw. Blood sprayed. But Vizareth didn't stop. He circled like a panther, feinting low, then lashing out high. Rylan blocked with his forearm, barely staying upright. The man was fast. But predictable. Rylan waited, then drew him in. Vizareth lunged. Rylan twisted under the blow, grabbed his opponent's wrist, and slammed him to the ground. His blade skidded across the floor. The crowd gasped. Rylan stood over him. Fists clenched. "End it," Vizareth growled. Rylan stepped back. "No," he said. "Ending it would make me like you. I'll let them see who the real coward is." Vizareth snarled, but didn't rise. The arena lights dimmed. A bell rang. The duel was over. That night, beneath the same moons, Lyra stood in the Temple of Stars. The ancient ritual space had never hosted a human before. Now, for the first time, the galaxy's oldest race welcomed an outsider not as invader, but equal. She turned toward him. He wore a simple black tunic, no armor, no medals. Just a man. But something in his stance, his steadiness, made him seem taller. An elder stepped forward with a crystal shard glowing in violet light. "Speak your vow," the elder said. Lyra took a breath. "In blood, I was born. In duty, I was raised. But in him, I found freedom. I bind myself by choice, not law." She looked up, eyes fierce. "And I choose you." The elder turned to Rylan. He stepped forward, voice quiet but strong. "I've flown 1,000 worlds. Seen them burn. Saved what I could. But nothing I've done means more than this moment. I don't know your stars. But I know you." His hand touched hers. "And I'm not afraid." The shard pulsed. The bond was sealed. Cheers erupted beyond the temple walls. Not orchestrated. Not forced. Real. Hours later, they stood together on a private terrace, the city now sleeping beneath them. Soft lights glowed in the distance. The wind whispered stories no one had written yet. Rylan leaned on the railing, shoulder touching hers. "You really want to rebuild your world with a human?" he asked. She laughed lightly. "I want to rebuild it with you. That's different." He turned to her. "You're sure?" She nodded. "Because you never asked to own me. You just asked if I was okay." He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "What happens now?" he asked. Lyra looked at the stars. "We write new rules." She reached down and laced her fingers with his. "Together."